What is this? Huge, long, stretched out lines? Uninspiring landscape? And a gigantic army of Ottomans? Well, of course! It's Napoleon Total War on the Grassy Flatlands. What else might give this away? Well, you can see that now, don't get me wrong, to start off with, I'm going to be a little bit sarcastic in this battle because this battle demonstrates what I do not like about Napoleon Total War, but many of you enjoy it, so don't take it personal. I'm just giving you the reasons why I don't like it. So, here we are in the uninspired Grassy Flats. This map is great for tournaments, I guess, kind of. I think that's why they made it. But in any case, I'm playing the kind of rules in the map that I hate to try and get out of my comfort zone, so I am playing max 5 lights, no artillery, Grassy Flatlands. So you can be assured of one thing: gigantic, long, spread out, heavy firepower armies. And so I knew exactly what kind of army I would be facing. Well, at least one, or I mean, when someone plays as the Ottomans on the Grassy Flatlands, it's going to be painfully obvious what they're bringing. And it's one of two things: a whole lot of light infantry, and either a mix of line infantry and cheap melee infantry, or just a lot of line infantry and a crapload of shooter cav and some heavy lancers. There's really no double guessing what an Ottoman player is going to bring when you play in the Grassy Flatlands. So to counter this, I've brought a very tough, very high firepower army, except that my French troops are higher quality than the Ottoman rabble. So I have 5 units of these chasseurs à cheval, I have 4 units of Fusilier the line, and 4 units of Young Guard, so my line is going to be incredibly powerful. And I also have 5 units of chasseurs. Here they are. My opponent's army consists of, just as I suspected, a crapload of line infantry, 4 units of mounted Nizam rifles, and 2 units of Sealter Guard. He's got 2 units of Palestinian auxiliaries, just as throwaway units, 5 units of Nizam light infantry. He's got 1 here, or sorry, 4 units of Nizam light infantry. 1 here, or, yeah, did I say 4? Because I meant 3. Yeah, he's got 3 of them. And my opponent's also, I mean, this is, man, I don't even know where to begin. There's so many things. That's why I'm getting tripped up on my words here. I don't even know where to begin on what I don't like about the strategies in the Grassy Flatlands. It's just always the same. You can't attack up the center, because the center has too much firepower on either army. So all it's going to be is a petty squabble for the 2 flanks. But it's the Grassy Flatlands, so you can spread out from red line to red line, so you can't outflank your opponent, unless your opponent gives it to you, which sometimes they will. So all you have to do is put some firepower on your flanks, and then it just becomes an absolute gridlock. So you can see exactly what my opponent was planning. He's got his 2 Nizam mounted rifles and his Sealter Guard, a throwaway unit of Palestinian auxiliaries, some rifles, and a couple of his Nizam line on his flank. So he's obviously going to try and overpower my flank. This is like the most common, the most regurgitated strategy I've ever seen on Napoleon Total War. Now again, sorry, I'm not trying to offend anybody personally. If you like this type of gameplay, it's a free world out there. Play it all you want, enjoy it. I'm just explaining why I don't like it. So here you are. And another thing I don't like about the Grassy Flatlands is on Empire Total War, on the Grassy Flatlands, man, long-range units would freaking shred you because there is nothing in their way. If you bring 125 range units on the Grassy Flatlands in Napoleon Total War, it's like there's some kind of magical nerfing that went on the troops, and 125 range troops are worthless on the Grassy Flatlands. It's like their kill rate is absolutely crap from long range, which is their only positive, is that they're long-range troops. So I'm going to force my opponent to attack me. It's when you have huge high firepower armies like this, it's pretty much whoever gets the first shot and then maintains his troops properly is going to win, which is another reason why I don't like it. Now, granted, people can make mistakes. Sometimes you might be able to pull a rabbit out of your hat and win. You know, I'm just saying that we have 2 fairly equally matched armies here, and if I get the first shot on him and manage my troops well, I'm going to win the fight. And my opponent is not really wanting to attack. I mean, he does want to attack. Obviously, he's loaded his flanks here, but he's a little bit nervous, as he should be, because I brought a really high-quality army of France here for him to fight against. So here in the center, he's going to be completely outgunned. He's just going to start a skirmish fight here, I think, to just to get my attention maybe on the center so he can do his work on the flanks, but I'm not even going to pay attention to the center. That's why I left more skirmishers in the center, because my opponent cannot win there. And if he wants to attack me right up the center, he'll lose, because my Young Guard are interspersed every other unit with my Fusilier, and my Young Guard will absolutely mow down his crappy Nizam line. And yeah, a lot of you always ask me too why I don't play as the Ottomans. I don't really like the Ottoman faction, to be honest. I don't like it on Empire, I don't like it on here. Their units are really rabble-type quality, and they get overused a lot on the games, and so I just don't like to use them for that reason. It's the same thing with England, but I mean, don't get me wrong, France gets overused a lot too, but hey, it's Napoleon Total War. Again, it's all personal preference, so it's just my personal preference. It's not like I'm trying to state some kind of law or rule that governs the game. So here's the skirmish fight, much as suspected. I'm absolutely slaughtering my opponent here in the front. So all I got to do is just wipe out these crappy Nizam light infantry. Now I was curious, I was reading about the Ottoman army online the other day, because I didn't know much about the Ottoman Empire. Come to find out, Nizam is just their word. Nizam Isidit is just kind of their word for like new. It's like new or reorganized. So that's what that means. And it's because the Ottomans, really, their army was pretty cruddy by contemporary standards throughout much of their history. Not all of it, but throughout much of their later history, their army was pretty cruddy by modern standards. And so they had a couple of leaders that tried to reorganize their troops. But really, when it came down to it, the only decent units the Ottomans were able to frequently field were Janissaries. And the number of Janissaries were often limited. But they were really the only high-quality troops that could be fielded by the Ottomans. So you can see that my opponent's trying to use his high firepower here of these Nizam-mounted rifles, but all I had to do was answer with my 3 units of Chasseurs à Cheval, and he took heavy losses in his cavalry, which was not something that he wanted to do. He should have been a little more careful about letting those horses get within range. So the players who play on Grassy Flats, I don't know how skilled my opponent is. Most of the time when I play on Grassy Flats, the people have insane micromanagement skills. That's another reason why they like the Grassy Flats, is because they know the map inside and out. They don't want to be challenged as far as moving their troops around when it comes to terrain. They don't want the terrain to get in their way or block their shots. They just want to be able to manage their troops, get them in the position they want quickly, and be able to fire. At least that's the way it seems like to me. I like playing on maps with terrain. Don't get me wrong, the terrain maps get frustrating. Sometimes I get sick of waiting on the other side of a bridge, firing my howitzer, waiting on someone to attack. Those kind of maps get on my nerves as well. It's just that I like maps kind of like the Aosta Valley, and I'm trying to think of a few others. The Spanish Lakeside's a cool map. I like maps like that where it's got a variation of terrain. Now there's some terrain maps that I absolutely hate. I hate the Salamanca province. That one drives me nuts. I don't know what it is with the terrain on that map, but I always screw it up and I hate it. So here my opponent charges in his Sealter guards. I'm just going to let him charge, and this is why. They're just going to get absolutely mowed over by my Chasseurs à Cheval. And their charge is going to be nullified by the fact that they were all dead. Dead men make no charge, I guess. So you can see that his units were definitely superior to my own, but since I trashed them previous, he didn't really get to use them to their full extent. And he pushed forward some line, which was smart, trying to get my cavalry while they were forward, but all I have to do is retreat. I'll take minimal losses, while he lost an extremely expensive cav unit. Now in the center, I've destroyed his light infantry, and now I'm going to make my opponent pay for only putting all of his attacking troops on the flank. So here's all of his men lined up. You can see that they're in the single line, which is, you know, typical in the flats. It makes sense because you get more firepower. So all I did was scoot up my Chasseurs, open fire, killed between 25 and or 20 and 25 men in a couple of his units. Plus killed 3 men in his general's bodyguard. So my opponent has no choice but to retreat, and because he's retreating, now all I have to do is simply wrap up his flank, and he can't attack me in the center because I have too much firepower. And so he can attack me and die, or he can sit still and die. Again, this is why I don't like the Grassy Flatlands, because the strategies are just really one-dimensional. Spread your troops out, march forward, gut it out, it's over. Someone might make a novel move here or there with your cavalry, but I don't know, it's just not really exciting to me. So at this point, I can play pretty darn sloppy and still win the fight, just because my opponent has lost this this flank, basically. I mean, he still has troops here, and you might be saying, he hasn't lost yet. Yeah, he's lost, because he's lost too many men, and again, unless I mismanage my troops, he's not going to be able to pull out the victory. I mean, if you look at the kind of troops that I have up my line, these Young Guard are far and away better than any of those Nizam lines. And Young Guard are some of the lower statistic troops as far as guards go. So my opponent has these Palestinian auxiliaries. Like I said, they're just a throwaway unit. He's using them to try and get some flank shots on these Fusiliers here. And I'm losing a ton of men in this Fusilier unit, but I don't really care. Again, because like all I have to do is finish off my opponent's cavalry here, and then the game is completely and totally over. And here he gives me the opportunity to do just that. So I'm going to let my horsemen open fire. These Palestinian auxiliaries aren't firing at my horses, they're firing at my light infantry. And my opponent can't form a square with these militia troops either. Palestinian auxiliaries are militia. So now his Nizam cavalry is going to die because my French rifle cav is better in a melee. And then plus we're right next to the edge of the map, which is one of the problems when playing on the grassy flats right next to the edge, is your men will rout right off the map. And there's no chance they'll come back. Good for me, bad for my opponent. So here's my opponent drawing back, because he knows that he's getting wailed on here. He's going to try and rectify the situation with some shots from these Palestinians, but then redecides. Yeah, so again, you can see that the strategies are pretty simple on the grassy flatlands when you're playing no art. It's just bring a crap load of firepower. You want to bring a pretty high amount of cavalry, or else that's you're going to have pretty much no maneuverability. So I guess that's the reason why I don't like it, is that it's always the same kind of armies. And when you play on terrain maps, you kind of have to bring an army that is more specific for the terrain. Now granted, the grassy flatlands is a terrain in and of itself. It's just that, I don't know, I hate the grassy flatlands. It's just me. I just hate it. I don't know what else to say. I can't stand it. And a lot of you are going to complain in the comments, and that's fine. You can complain all you want. You can tell me why you like it. I'm not gonna curse you out or block you or anything. I mean, you can tell me all day why you like the grassy flatlands. I hate it. It's just as simple as that. So my opponent now is completely befuddled on what to do because he's screwed. When you come with the strategy of having a strong flank to overpower your opponent's flank, and he answers that and beats you, then you're done. You don't have any recourse to that. Now in a team battle, he could have his teammates help him out or something, but in a 1v1, that's pretty much all she wrote. And I know that you may not hear a fat lady singing, but I can kind of imagine it in my head, that the fat lady's already singing on this battle. And you can see that I'm playing really sloppy. Now that I know I'm going to win this, here I am running my Shashir like right in front of his Nizam line when I could have used their range. It's because I just know that I have him completely and totally outmatched at this point. Because no matter what my opponent does, it's going to be a mistake. So whether he stood his ground here and waited for me to shoot him with my Shashir, it's a mistake. Whether he moves all of his troops over here like he's doing, it's going to be a mistake. So here I'm moving these troops into position. He's moved his center, but now I can simply answer with my own. And if he attacks over here, he'll be overpowered as well, because here I have 2 Shashir, and he only has his 1 light infantry. I could have attacked him on this flank and gone ahead, but since my opponent is at the disadvantage, I'm just going to sit there and outnumber him really bad on my right flank and his left flank. So let's watch these Nizam line. Like I said, these guys are pretty crummy quality. In real life, on the game, they seem to fare decently if used properly.
Our men are running, sir.
So over here, I'm forcing him into squares, and I'm just using the opportunity to shoot his squares with my infantry. And now I'm just going to leave this last unit of cav I have over here just kind of hovering out in the distance in order to harass the sides of his men with just a little bit of rifle fire. It's not a whole lot of fire, but it's enough that it gives them the concern about their flanks. Now here comes the Ottoman general. Let's check him out. They're all wearing those crazy hats. And I'm going to try and kill the Ottoman general, because he really shouldn't be coming out here to engage my shooter cav. I think it's a fight he's going to win, but I also have my infantry right here to support. So this was not a fight that my opponent should have gotten into, because it's just going to cause unnecessary deaths in his general unit, and possibly the death of his general. And since the Ottomans are kind of a crap faction, if they lose their general, they're going to be very easy to rout.
One of our units has used all its ammunition, sir.
Now, I just know that I'm going to get all kinds of angry comments about what I'm saying about the Grassy Flatlands and the Ottomans, because I think that the Ottomans are, you know, besides the French, probably the most popular faction on Napoleon Total War. Now, I ran out of ammunition with some of my chasseurs, so that's why I'm charging them into melee. You all know what it means. When you're part of Air's army, then you're part of a possible meat shield. So there's my men, charging forward, gonna get a couple of kills and then rout after sustaining ridiculous amounts of casualties. But it keeps the Ottoman men distracted for a few seconds, which is always handy. So my opponent, like I said, he moved his center, and let's check out here where he's attacking my my Young Guard and Fusilier. My Young Guard are going to make mincemeat out of these Nizam line. So here they are, they're down to 65, my Young Guard are only down to 91. And like I said, my opponent made a mistake. Now that he's split his troops into two, I'm simply going to envelop him. It'll be two envelopment maneuvers. So one on his left flank, and then one on his right flank. So now I've got him boxed in on his right flank. He can't leave to assist his other troops. And I've got him surrounded, and he's going to die over here too. So here's my Fusilier there. Let's see if they're going to line up, take some shots. I'm not sure if they're even in range. Yeah, they are. There goes a brutal volley right into the flanks of those Nizam line, who are now down to 30 men, and they rout. So it's definitely looking bad for my opponent over on this flank. Now I'm going to fast forward just a little bit. And the reason I'm fast forwarding is because it takes a little bit of time to wrap this up. And you all pretty much know what's going to happen at this point. You can see me just completely surrounding my opponent here. And then over on the other flank, my opponent is unable to answer my advance due to my superior firepower. So you can see here that my chasseurs wheel up into range and just start unloading on these light infantry. So I'll let you watch some of the eye candy here, since that's about the only thing that playing on the Grassy Flatlands is worth. Oh man, I'm gonna get out all of my anger towards the Flatlands right here. I'm sure this will be one of my videos that gets lots of comments and arguments started. Again though, don't take any of this personal. I don't have anything against players who like this type of play. If that's what you like, it's just kind of like Rome Total War. If you like playing with urban and Praetorian spam every time, then game on. It's your game, you can do what you want with it. I just kind of like a different aspect of the game. So you'll see a lot of people play these types of battles. And one thing I hate, one thing I really, really hate, is the people who argue that it takes more skill to play these types of battles on the Grassy Flatlands. I wholeheartedly disagree. But at the same time, I'm not saying it takes more skill to play on terrain maps either. It's just two different kinds of skill. So it really bothers me whenever people say, oh, it takes more skill to play on Grassy Flatlands with no art. No, it doesn't. It just takes a different kind of skills. Just like you saw here, this is not the kind of army that I would bring on a terrain map. So all I had to use was a slightly different army and skill set here to win the battle on a different terrain. Now one thing I'll say that's kind of cool about a battle on the Grassy Flatlands is all the smoke does with just loom in the air there. It kind of makes it cool, like a realistic battlefield might look in this situation. Now here I only have 2 units of cav, so I'm going to let them fire their volleys and then charge them in. They're going to die, because they're outnumbered. My opponent has like all these Nizam mounted rifles. So yeah, my troops are going to get wasted by his Subaltern Guard. And the difference between this charge of his heavy lancers and the last charge was this charge, my rifle cav fired at his rifle cav rather than at his lancers. If I would have fired at his lancers, they would have died, but I didn't. So here he's going to go ahead and just make some some last-ditch bonsai charges, and I'm just going to let him do it. I'm not really even worried about forming square at this point. I'm just going to let his men get caught up in this fight, and then I'm just going to use my line that's back here to open fire and unleash on his cavalry. You can see that their morale just dropped big time, and that's because I just killed 20 or 30 of them with a volley from my line, and there they go routing. And this was a unit of Young Guard as well, so even though my men weren't in square, it's still going to take his cavalry slightly longer to rout them, because they're a guard unit. And here he's going to go for another charge, but this time I'm going to form a square at the last second, and now his men are going to really be hung up. You can see all of his horses rearing up. Some of his men are flying off their horses because the horse doesn't want to charge that square. Can't say I blame him. And now I've got all of my my infantry back here in the background, ready to just open fire on this cavalry, which is hooked onto a square. So there they go. Goodbye, Ottomans. That is pretty much the end of this game. I'm going to hit fast forward until we get to the end because I've seen enough of this grassy puke land action. Oh man, I can't wait to see the comments. In any case, argue with me all you want about whether the grassy flatlands is better and the no art 5 lights rule is better. I don't care. If that's what you like, that's what you like. I hate it, and this battle demonstrates why. It's pukishly boring. The only maneuvering is to just keep each other off each other's flanks, and that's really easy because you can just spread from red line to red line. And the strategies are usually based on heavy amounts of shooter cav, and or bringing really strong flanks of guard units. I don't know, there's only 1 or 2 strategies that work, and so it's just kind of boring. Whereas on a terrain map you can use, in my opinion, a lot more different strategies because you can use the terrain to, I guess, aid your troops, and so you don't have to always bring the same kind of army in order to win. So there's the stats of my troops. This one unit of Young Guard got a ludicrous amount of kills there. I was trying to see if anybody else did anything outstanding. Some of my Shashirs got quite a few. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that battle. It was one of the few that I win on the grassy flatlands. I'll go ahead and admit that to you. I don't win a lot of them because I don't usually play these types of battles, and I stink at them. But I'm starting to learn from having played more and more of them. I'm going to play more of them, even though I don't like them, so that I can get on here and figure out how to play against people in their own game.